Uh, my name is Jim Fergal, and welcome to the Career Conversations today. I hope to have a good discussion about opportunities in manufacturing. We're going to also focus on robotics and automation. I'm really looking forward to this because there's so much change in the industry happening right now, and there's a lot of things going on out there. So I'm just going to do some admin announcements, and then we're going to jump right into the discussion. I'm Jim Fergal. I'm the Job Seeker and Veteran Services Manager with WorkUp Dupage. Javon Morris and Jennifer Wegeman are also workshop facilitators. They are on the call as well. WorkUp Dupage is a job training organization for DuPage County. We are funded through the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, or WIOA. We do upgrade training. We have training grants up to $10,000 to earn marketable skills or credentials. No need to pay it back. The only thing Congress asks is that you let us know when you get a job, the type of job, salary, and benefits. Currently, and I think this infrastructure package is somewhere is the WIOA training, because I know we gave our end of the year report to Senator Duckworth, and she said, "Oh, this is fantastic," because this is the type of information we need to keep these programs going. On Tuesdays, we do offer a layoff to launch workshop. So if you are new to our services, please sign up at worknetdupage.org. That would be fantastic. So you can learn what's out there. That's the thing, is opportunities are out there, and I was laid off 7 times in 5 years. So, I always like making information available to everybody. Today, what we're going to do is use the chat room for questions, and just put a question mark ahead of the question. And I do have questions already pre-made, but sometimes we're on a topic that you might want a little bit more discussion about. We can, I'll bring that up to the forefront. Of course, just be courteous in the chat room. No ranting and raving. Okay, just ask us, questions that can help you. And there's going to be a two-way street. These companies are going to talk about what's going on with them, what are their needs, and I'm going to slide in some things of how you can present yourself to the companies, because I know as we go through here, these companies are looking for people too. Again, let us know when you find a new position. It encourages others. Just a few metrics is I've been here 26 years in various positions. I was hired on as a veteran counselor. And over the years, I've gathered, a few stories out of the 10,000 or 12,000 people that I've trained. So in job search. And so let us know. It's important that I can relay your information about job search to others. All righty, enough of the commercial. So let's talk about manufacturing. Today we have Tom Christofilis. Did I say your name right, Tom?
Christofilis, yeah, it's close enough.
Okay. He is the president and founder of IP Automation. I'm hoping Bryan McCusker will join us in a little while. He's the CEO of HFI Manufacturing. And Dave Colomb, he's a mechanical engineer with BBS Manufacturing. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
And what I am going to do is just stop the share for here so that we can all talk. Okay. Tom, I'm going to start with you because I know when we initially talked on the phone, uh, you have some things you want to talk about and bring up. But first, what's your background? You said you're the founder of IP Automation. What's your background, and talk to us about your company?
So I'm a mechanical engineer. I've been doing, I'd say, machine building automation for about 25-ish years, 24-ish
Okay.
years. I founded this company in 2012. And we started off specifically doing automation lines around lines that didn't ever existed, people that had a lot of manual operations. So I kind of looked at an industry that basically was very, stuck in the 40s and 50s, a lot of manual work. A lot of it was getting outsourced into Mexico, into China, all the manual operations, I looked at where all the WIP was going so that people would just make one process, leave the inventory to the side. A week later, they go back, another person would send that out to outside service. And we identified all those areas and streamlined a lot of that. Brought a lot of companies vertically integrate a lot of their operations, brought some technologies in-house that they weren't familiar with, educated their team and all their people, and really helped grow lots of companies in that, and not like 10%, and people doubled and tripled their size because of the technologies that were allowed to take on. We've introduced new technologies, specifically in some of the automotive fastening systems, the way they make some seat assemblies, stuff like that. And that's what we've kind of always look at where the opportunities is. We don't want to go in and do a me too. It's a price war. There's no value in it, and who wants to get involved with that? So you kind of identify where the needs are and kind of address them. We don't just like automate anything either. We kind of look at specific industries like the wire farming, to spring side of like manufacturing. We kind of look at those technologies because that's what we're more familiar with.
Okay, good. Yeah, so you kind of found your niche there.
Yeah, everyone's got some people have niche, certain niches, and some people are good at certain things and some people are not,
Yeah. Well, all goes down to knowing you.
Yeah.
Okay, Dave, tell us about your background.
Hi, everybody. So, yeah, I'm Dave Colomb. I went to school at Purdue, graduated like 4.5 years ago. Been working at BBS as a mechanical engineer for 3 years now. I'm a design engineer, so I'm designing the parts that go into the machines that my company produces. And to give you an idea of what BBS does, we do custom automation for assembly and testing. It sounds pretty similar to what Tom was saying. We're not quite as niche, I would say, but that's a constant drive to try to become more niche so we can specialize even further. Because every time we can get a project that's similar to something we've done before, like you would expect, we have more experience, we can do a better and faster job to get that machine done. So yeah, so to give everybody an idea of like what a machine that we might make would do, we recently made a machine for Procter & Gamble that assembles electric toothbrushes. So they will send us a large quantity of all the components that go into making this toothbrush, like the plastic shell, the small microcontroller, the motor to vibrate the toothbrush, the head of the toothbrush. And then we create a machine that's roughly the size of like a school bus or so, where all the parts come in at different parts of this machine or different places in this machine, and the end product is a toothbrush being produced every 5-6 seconds, something on that scale. So I hope that gives everybody an idea of what we do, but yeah.
Okay, great. So for both of you, I'm going to be looking at technology. Years ago, when I was stationed in Germany, I went on a trip with a German, And he used to be a race car driver, and we stopped in some out of the way factory, I guess. I never would have thought it was a factory, but inside they were making roll bars for race cars, and it happened to be King Hussein from Jordan because he liked race cars. But I noticed how they were bending. They typed the stuff into a computer, and then it would, bend the bars to conform to the race car, and they even designed the car seat to King Hussein of Jordan's specification size. And when I was looking at your website, Tom, I noticed that you had the bending machine, and that brought back that memory. So, what technologies and software are you using right now, and what do you see happening in the future?
So right now, I mean, in terms of the design side, I mean, we're using pretty standard off-the-shelf SolidWorks for like designing the products, for manufacturing in our machine shop. We're using Mastercam. So those are pretty run-of-the-mill engineering manufacturing software that are very popular. Now, what powers our machines are a lot of other software packages. We use a company called B&R Automation for pretty much most of our controls. So they have their own software package that they run, basically that runs their drives and controls. And then we have our own proprietary software we develop that actually takes the data from, let's say, the wire or whatever you're making, the tubular shape, whatever. It takes the data, the length, the bend, the angles, and all that stuff, and through a series of tool libraries and bending formula calculations and spring back, constant stuff like that. That's what actually takes that part data, like the length and angle, and actually gives the machine the CNC code to bend the shapes.
Okay.
And then there's simulation softwares that simulate it before you bend it. There's other options where they can take the CAD data and put the reverse engineer it into the software automatically. Of course, everything needs tweaks. It's not like we're machining a part. When you're bending something, there's a lot more variables involved, but at least it gives a really good starting point for the operator to start off on the first component.
Okay, great. Dave, how about you?
Yeah, I would say pretty similar. In the machines we make are pretty like a piecewise, lots of different components of software that come together to make a single machine. Yeah, I would say for mechanical, it's pretty run of the mill. We use SolidWorks. And then there's a lot of AutoCAD too in the electrical department. The machines, the control systems are mostly Siemens control systems, and I believe they program the machines through that interface. Yeah, and then we do some machine vision, which uses that like AI buzzword, but we have these camera systems that are looking at the parts, and we're basically telling it whether it's succeeded or failed at giving us the right information to pick up that part per se. And then as we give it feedback, it becomes better and better at recognizing what the part looks like and becoming more successful at picking up those parts. So that's a pretty interesting little thing that happens on a lot of machines. And then I guess I would say lastly is almost all the machines we make also incorporate robots. So you can think about the typical 6-axis robot that's picking something from one area and putting it somewhere else, or doing an operation with a tool head. So our controls engineers also spend a lot of time programming those robots. And then we also have people come in to do some of the control systems, and sometimes we'll have people from Phonic or another robot company do the programming for the robots. Yeah.
Okay, so you've recently graduated Purdue. I believe you said 4 years ago.
Yep.
And you did an internship, I believe.
Yep.
And I was scouting you out on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So, with value LinkedIn.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
So we're talking about all this different type of software and robotics. did you learn all this in college, or did you learn it on the job, or did you have a basic understanding? How does it work for you to transfer in here?
So just related to mechanical engineering, in college, I didn't do really anything with SolidWorks, but with CAD design, the skills are very transferable. So, I wouldn't discourage anybody to, if the company you're looking at doesn't use the same software for CAD design that you're familiar with, it's not a big deal. Like, I learned SolidWorks with like CATIA and Creo experience, so that's fine. But then other than that, what I learned in school was mostly like theoretical physics, some electronics, and like some machine design. But I would say like the skills I do at work are very like niche compared to what I learned in college. So yeah, it was a lot of like learning on the job for me. And then my internship was in the field of manufacturing, but it wasn't design. I was a project engineer at a value-added food company. So we were taking like fish and producing supermarket products through like a assembly line basically. And similar situation, like what I had learned in college helped me to kind of understand what was going on, but there I was doing like control systems for like barcode readers and learning new software and learning new systems. So for me, it's been college has been helpful and school has been helpful, but once I'm on the job, that's where a lot of the learning takes place.
Okay, thanks. Tom, how about you? Because I know you own the company. What do you look for in people? Are you willing to train? Because the age group that I'm seeing is 45 to 60 that are looking for jobs. Some have been in manufacturing, but some, especially with this robotics and automation, the software is coming in here. Is it something that you can train on, or do they need to go to a school to learn this?
I think most, so we do send some people to training for FNUC but most everything is on the job. And you'd be surprised the different, what some people graduate as a degree and what they end up doing is completely different things. And I think the technology is, if you figured out how to use your smartphone for anyone who's older and figured out they look at a fan controlled pennant or how something works, and they get, oh, I can't ever do that. It's, if you figured out how to use your smartphone, I'm pretty sure you figured out how to do everything else. We teach people all the time how to program different parts on our machines. Our machines are CNC machines, so you're going to make, and you have our bending machine and a robot in front of it and some other operation, and they have to program new parts once a day, 3 times a week, 5 times a month, who knows? And they have to remember those skills. It's not like we just build them an automated machine, they press a button, it runs, and there's a maintenance guy that once a week comes in and does it. It's all CNC, so it's job shop environment. It's a lot of changeovers, so they have to know how to run that. And everyone ends up figuring it out. I mean, some people stumble, okay, but it takes a little bit of, I tell my customers all the time, just give them some time, give them a couple of days, just have them just focus on that, and they'll get used to it, and they'll excel. And it's very intuitive. It's not, you don't need a special, this is not like coding something in some, Microsoft VB platform that you're gonna have to, go to school or, bust your head for a month to figure out. I mean, this is, a couple times you figure it out. And I think it's a perception that it's very, it takes too much skill. It doesn't. I mean, I have engineers who were tool and die guys, and they're really good at making stuff practical. I have technicians who ended up, they were good in math and had graphic arts degrees, and these guys run circles around. Unfortunately, some engineers just don't have the people skills to deal with training. And it's a big, it's a lot easier than people think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would second that as well. I would definitely second that. It's not as difficult as people think. Just the other day, somebody was training me on how to use the laser engraver, and it was like, oh, this is going to be difficult. But like you said, if you can use your smartphone, you can figure out these technologies. They're not that complicated, and people want to help you learn.
So there's hope for me then, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, the reason why I asked is because when I'm doing resumes for people or helping people in the job search process, I see transferable skills. I see attitude, positive attitude. I'm not going to talk about the negative, but the positive attitude and people willing to switch industries. So I'm thinking of two people off the top of my head. One was owned his own print shop, and he went to CNC training, and he made the switch and picked up other positions as well. And the other guy, which I found interesting, and I hope he's on here today, he has a PhD in music and went back for technology, the Cisco. And as we were talking, because both use math, I said, what you need to do is communicate how both of these arenas of your interests will help an employer. And he says, well, once you understand the process, then you can teach it and figure it out. And that's why I told him to be on here, because I figured you have a process, Tom, and even Dave, in those assembly lines or all of this. Would those be skills that would be transferable, would you say?
Of course, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So let's talk about what type of positions you need. Because I know, Tom, you told me this. It's stuck in my head. People think manufacturing is only working in a greasy, tool and die shop or something.
Yeah.
But I think, and the reason why we do these career conversations is there's so much opportunity out there now for a variety of positions. What type of positions do you have at your company, and what are you currently hiring for?
Oh, we're hiring for mechanical engineers, machine builders, machinists, junior builders, raw materials coordinators. I mean, I think right now we're growing a lot too. I think a lot of other companies are growing as well. But we're trying to take some of the positions, some people that were wearing 3 hats, and give them 2 hats to wear, and take that extra position and, make a position out of it, because the workloads are too big. And just try to scale faster. If you're going to grow 10%, it's one thing. We're growing way bigger than that. And so it's hard to find the people, train the people, fast enough. Fortunately, we have I've been working with some of these guys in here through this company, through a previous company for over 15, 17 years. And we have a very, very like mindset. We're trying to hire teachers, mentors, and try to teach everyone that. We don't try to, there is some trial by fire, and I think that goes everywhere. Sometimes you got to, hit the ground running, but for the most part, I want to take the time. If people want to learn, I mean, we're here to teach. But if someone, if we get a new employee in here and they got their smartphone out, texting someone, when someone else is talking, I'm like, that's bad. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, if someone wants to learn, I mean, we're here to teach.
Well, yeah, you're talking about expanding.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have administrative staff, I believe you would, accountants, IT support, supply chain. Are those also positions you look at?
Of course.
Okay.
So we have the raw materials coordinator is basically someone who's helps purchasing, helps inventory. It's an office duty where they would work with engineering, look at the bill of materials, work with the vendors, coordinate the raw materials, that kind of stuff. That's a office, job. They're not on the floor, grinding parts or anything like that. We also always look for like project managers that kind of look through stuff, look through projects, make sure that everything's on time, communicate with the customers. If something's falling behind, they kind of like take the lead to kind of get it back on target. But those are all lots of, positions that are always available. I mean, right now, we're trying to find a little bit of everything. That's just part of the piece.
Okay. Dave, how about you?
Yeah, so it's like the full spread. As you can imagine, and as Tom was just talking about, there's so many positions and opportunities of different variety skill sets from to actually get this automation business selling automated machines. But so right now on our website, the current listing is we got applications engineer, controls engineer, and account manager. But that is constantly changing because we've been hiring pretty frequently. So besides that, we're looking for machinists regularly. We just hired another junior builder. Another interesting position that most people wouldn't think of is we just got a new technical writer, which is pretty cool. So the person who's documenting our machines and explaining how they work and writing instruction manuals and manuals for these machines. So that just came. We got that. We just got a new sales employee. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunities for a wide variety of skill sets for sure.
Okay. Which I think is important is because, I mean, we're seeing so many jobs come in, and I know you're screaming for people at your companies. And this is why I'm doing this, is because I know there's opportunity out there. And I'm hoping Bryan is on here. Bryan,
Jim, I am. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I only saw you in the chat. So we've been talking about.
I've been on the whole time. I'm out in the West Coast here. I forgot to tell you my academic calendar instead of my work calendar, so I apologize. But Jim and Dave make some really great points throughout this whole conversation. Actually, I'm gonna have to talk with, I believe it's Dave with the robotic company too, because we're always looking at expanding and adding new machinery into our system too. But Jim, do you want me to give like a 2-minute speech, like a kind of an elevator speech to just be up to date with everybody who's on this thing?
Yes, if you would talk about your career path and then the company, if you would, please.
Sure. Well, I'll start out the company first because I'm a company man. So HFI Manufacturing has been around 53 years. I'm the second owner. I've been there a little over a decade. And we started out actually as a welding company that's developed into a sheet metal fabrication company. So, we really specialize in 14 gauge to 24 gauge, and we're mostly in some higher end materials, stainless, aluminum. We will get into hot roll, cold roll, or galvanized and some of those other materials, but we specialize really in blueprint manufacturing, from working with water companies, working with beverage companies, working with food service companies, food equipment companies, or even medical equipment. So we're always, and we're constantly growing too, just like everybody else. It's a fascinating field to be into. I think COVID actually was probably a benefit for the manufacturing industry too. A lot of things now aren't going to be specifically made in China anymore. You see U.S. manufacturing booming if you read any of the tech kind of journals. But we're always looking at labor too, and we know that U.S. labor is a little bit more expensive than Mexico or China. So we're looking at robotics and automation, and we're not trying to get rid of people. We're trying to bring our skill set up to a different level for the United States. And that's really where I think the future of manufacturing is at. As far as me, my dad worked for Central Steel and Wire, who's a steel supplier company, for 52 years. I always promised myself I would never get in this industry. Well, after a stint with pharmaceuticals and higher education, here I am, been here 10 years, love it, enjoy doing everything with it. I love the people the most. You were right that I do have a PhD. It's not in music, but it's in organization behavior and development. So my big thing is, as a business owner, I look at a triangle. I look at my employees, I look at my customers, and I look at my suppliers. It's a triangle for success. And, I think the one thing you asked, do people need to be trained? I'm old school in the fact of I don't want them, if they know how to work a cell phone, great, but I want them to come in and know the basics and understandings of manufacturing first. That's something that we can train people for. And then we get you into the next level for the higher end robotics or the automation or the technical support aspect. But I believe like anything, if you know the foundations of something, you're going to be more successful in life, no matter what it is. So I think that solves everything. We're all caught up, and I'll let Tom and Dave go back to answering all these great questions. And thanks, Jim, for unmuting me.
Okay, are you still going to be on the call until about 10? Is that
I'll
possible?
be on as long as you want to be on. Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, you must have read my mind because I wanted to go to COVID and the effects of COVID. And you brought up something as in your triangle was your employees, customers, and suppliers. Both my sons are in supply chain, and one is specifically in sales for freight forwarding. And he's talking about costs of freight going up. Where do you get your raw materials from, and how is that impacting your business with your customers and your product? I'm going to go with Dave. Dave first, and then Tom, and then Brian. Okay, Dave, have you seen that?
Yeah, definitely have seen that. And yeah, we source, BBS is multinational, so we got plants in Italy and Germany and Malaysia and China. So we do a lot of shipping, and that definitely has. I was just talking to our buyer, and he said we just paid a $20,000 shipping bill to get a bunch of parts over from China. But yeah, so because of that, we actually have been doing a lot more purchasing from manufacturing companies in the United States. And yeah, it has been a little bit more expensive. Cost of parts and lead times has been pushed out a little bit, but yeah, we're getting through it. And I would say that the positive effect of COVID is that business is good, and I would say like the communication within the business has improved drastically, because it just forced us, at first, like we said right when we started this call, it seemed like at first, everyone was, like a chicken with their head cut off. No one knew how to deal with, being remote, and like that was a big change. But now, after a year and a half or so, everyone has gotten very proficient at being able to communicate through technology and not necessarily having to be face to face, which I think has improved not only relationships within the business, but also relationships with our customers too.
Okay, cool. Tom, how about you?
Yeah, I would agree with Dave. I mean, it's definitely the cost of shipping. We bring stuff out of the UK, we bring stuff out of Austria, we bring stuff out of Germany, specifically components for machinery. Steel has been another big hurdle cost of that, and bringing that in because just getting stuff delivered is getting more expensive.
Mhm.
What COVID has also changed even some of our customers who would take more of a commodity part and would find a company in Taiwan and China and build it there. Specifically, the beginning of last year, they got hurt really hard because when China got shut down, and the automotive companies here were still building cars and there weren't parts for those cars, they got dinged really bad. So in the last year, you've seen a lot of push for those parts and a lot of automation, and said, I don't care, we'll pay 15, 20% more. And the suppliers here too, all the automotive suppliers here are giving a little bit into with that. And they're allowing that to basically be sourced here. And I think even the cost of freight now, what people didn't think it used to cost, I think $3,000-4,000 for a container, and now you're talking about container prices. I've heard prices go over 10,000 easily, probably more. I'm not, we don't bring containers in, but I heard stories where it's gone up twofold, threefold, and it's good for American manufacturing, and it's good for automation companies too as well, because then we can help automate a lot of those components that were traditionally, sourced out of China or out of anywhere else. Even bringing stuff out of Mexico. Mexico had a hard time too. So
Well, I'm going to get to you in a second, Brian. My son was in, both sons actually sent me pictures of the port of Long Beach where they had all these huge container ships. There's probably 20 in the picture, and there was probably another 30 that weren't in the picture because they didn't have dock workers to unload. And then the other thing is Dave mentioned 20,000 that, and Tom, you're talking about triple fold. My son was telling me last night that you, just to guarantee that that container's on the ship is up to 20 grand, just about. And then the chassis for the containers for the trucks, it was jumped from 75 rental, $75 per day to up to 500 per day. So I was just one, you know, when I hear this, I'm one of those people that put my ear to the ground, and I like to look at the impact, and especially on your industry. But I think the important thing is what I've heard so far is bringing things back to the states, because we have a very intelligent workforce that can pick up these skills and learn rather than relying outside the U.S. Brian, what's your comment on all this?
I think you're dead on. You know, one of the things I look for is we can always train someone, like I said, the foundations of manufacturing and get them involved. The real question is, you know, a desire and a want to be working and a desire and want to be within the industry. And once you make that commitment, then, you know, there's the twofold. In my hiring process, I let my staff do it all, but I like to have the final interview. I just, you know, the only thing I basically ask, we pretty much made up our mind if I'm meeting with you, but the only thing I ask is if you're loyal to me, I'll be loyal to you. And that philosophy is what we're looking for more than anything else. And I think Dave and Tom will agree with that. You know, we want just good, hardworking people.
Yeah.
The rest of it is all trainable.
Yeah.
The rest of it, I think you do look at the amount of technology we use in our day-to-day lives. It transfers into robotics. It transfers into automation. It transfers into the future of where our industry is going. I think it's been a blessing, and I think we're finding out who. The question is we want, we don't do a good enough job in our industry marketing it or selling the long-term benefits of manufacturing, of being in this industry, which is so vital to so many different lines. And you can't go to a store and not see where something comes out of a shop like ours, or an automation shop, or a machine shop. It's amazing what we do here, and we touch so many lives too. But we, like I said, I think us as an industry, we need to sell it more. But going back to what you said, though, yes, I think material prices, mine have sometimes doubled and tripled. We pass that through to our customers to make sure that I can take care of my employees. We just, at the end of the quarter, we'd start a semi-annual bonus program too. If the company's doing well and your department's doing well, we have bonus money for you guys too. So we try to incentivize good performance, and that's the only way of doing it. It's just like I said, it's a win-win situation with loyalty to the company and vice versa.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm
unlike the other two gentlemen. I keep all my stuff right here in the U.S. because I'm locally based. I'm not an international plant yet. We're in negotiations for that, but yeah, all my material is brought in from other people from overseas. But I don't have those headaches, luckily. I'm sorry, Dave and Tom, that you guys do. It's I have plenty of friends in the trucking industry. Transportation is huge for opportunities right now. Truckers are in all-time, high demand, and that industry is also changing. So, luckily, there's still plenty of material. There's plenty of opportunity. It's plenty. It's no better place than here, and no better time than now for manufacturing.
Let's go to hiring. One of the biggest issues that I hear from job seekers is that no one's going to hire me because I'm too old. I'm over 50, 55, 60. Do you see that as an issue? Or how can a job seeker present themselves to you to help the company? Tom, what do you think?
I don't think it's age. I think it's just wanting to learn the technologies, just getting in there, and um, it's, and as Brian says, committing, right? Committing to doing it. And I think if you can commit and you have a good personality, I think everything else is trainable, and you can train to do a lot of things. I mean, people are working well past 65 these days. And I mean, you got to keep busy too, right? So, I mean, my father-in-law retired because of COVID last year, and he's trying to itching to do something now, you know? So I think, and I look, I prefer that because it brings a little different experience. You know, companies not, it's a collaboration of different people, different personalities, and bringing it all together and sharing experiences. You know, what one person did 15 years ago, you know, that someone didn't do. You're training them. I have a machinist back here. He's training the 25-year-olds. Different things. They didn't teach them in TMA how to do this or that. You know, there are all these little tricks, and I think that's beneficial. And it's not just in this industry, in other industries, bringing them in. You know. But I looked for the experience, the knowledge, the being the teacher and the mentor, and transferring that over, you know.
Okay, good. Dave, how about you?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say I probably have as experienced of a perspective on this because I'm not doing a lot of hiring, but what I do see in the successful people, like the successful older hires, resonates like a willingness to work hard and like being excited about solving problems. But yeah, I've seen it time and time again where somebody will come in, like an older person with not necessarily direct experience to what they're doing now, but there's so many different skills that can be used, and most of these people like have experience in something that they can apply. And yeah, if they're willing to learn it, it seems to go really well.
Yeah, I was at a career conference, and you know, we had probably 1,000, 1,500 people in the main conference room, and someone said, how many of you are working within the degree that you had? And very few people raised their hand. And how many people were working outside of their degree? And almost the whole conference raised their hand. So I don't think you have to worry about so much the degree. I think that's you're learning, as you mentioned earlier, Dave, theory, but it's those interpersonal skills, like being able to talk to people. I know I like a variety of different generations. I was just talking with one of my former trainers who's now she's a elementary school teacher, but she was a gamer. And I don't know, years ago, Second Life came out where you, I was reading this in Fast Cups, you went in, you had an avatar, and that you were going around looking for a real job. And she pushed me out of the way and says, you know, you type too slow. So she was in there, and they actually had someone on the other end answering questions. And I said, how bizarre is this that we have to go into a virtual world to look for a job in the real world? But, you know, just to be able to talk, and I always believe in surrounding myself with a lot of different people with a lot of different experiences to get those perspectives. Brian, how about you?
Oh, man, you got stuff here. This is an HR disaster. You know, if you say anything other than, you know, and honestly, I don't care. We just hired actually a 58-year-old for our press break department. He worked at a competitor, or actually a customer, who had a downturn about 6-7 years ago, and we found him through a temp agency, and he's been wonderful. I think the nice part about it is experience. Like I said, fundamentals and experience. They give different options and different points of view that, sometimes we get in a rut. We're only seeing things through blinders. Our job as managers and owners is to bring out the best in each person. And, and sometimes experience and just conversation. We get to hear things, sometimes things we don't like to hear, but it makes us, do a self-awareness and evaluation, and other things where, light bulbs go off. Why did we do this? Why didn't we think about this? So it's putting people in the right positions and, having the right conversations. Like I said, it's the willingness to work, get your hands a little dirty, and be part of a team is, I think Dave and Tom will all tell you that's the key to success, no matter what age you are. So hopefully I answered the question on that one.
Yeah. So do you list all your jobs on your websites, or are there some positions that aren't listed? And do you prefer people to apply only for open positions, or if they know someone? I guess it's a better thing. Is networking and being referred from someone a good way to find a position in your company? Tom?
I think there's lots of avenues. We've hired people that just blindly send, go to our website, they look at our website, send an info to our influencer, say, hey, I'm looking for a job. This is what I know. Here's my resume. Are you hiring? And I respond to every single one of those people, or one person in here does. And if it's something that a need, we put them on the side, like, hey, maybe we'll look at them later. We put networking is one way. Referrals is a big thing, because I think if someone else will vouch for them, I think that's like half the battle. They'll give them a little bit better history, but just ZipRecruiter, Indeed, those are the primary other sources we put ads in. We'd like to get to be better at posting our positions on our website. Unfortunately, we don't have like a full-time person inside here that does that on the fly. So as we grow, we'll probably be doing more of that. But sometimes we have an open position. I'll go on my LinkedIn and I'll advertise the position out, and those will be shared through whatever. You could see 1,000 views just from that.
Yeah. Brian, how about you?
I love referrals. If you talk about longevity and people staying with the company, when you feel like part of your friend or your family member or someone else is within our organization, I feel that you're going to stay and work harder and longer for us too. That doesn't mean I'm not open to anything else. Right now we're with about 6 or 7 temp agencies. We do events like this. Heck, we have a little sign-in sheet. People stop into the office all the time and fill out a little application, and we usually call them back within 24 hours. We don't. There's no right or wrong way of getting a job. It's just, like I said, finding something you're going to be passionate about, doing the best you can with it.
Well, it's interesting what you just said there, Brian, is stopping into the office. So much is out there that the rumors that they said, well, you have to apply online. But I found, and I still do this to this day, and my wife is ready to kill me. I do job search by driving around. If I'm on my way to a store, if I'm driving through an industrial park, I'm looking to the left and right at the help wanted signs. And I don't see the brake lights. So that's an issue. But I think there's so much out there that is not advertised, because you may not be at the stage where you can devote a whole website to listing positions versus going to Indeed, like you said, Tom. And referrals, I always like referrals too. So I believe networking is a great way, and just exploring companies for stuff that isn't readily apparent. Dave, how about you?
Yeah, that resonates. It's all avenues really. Like any avenue that we can get a a employee that fits our company or fits a role is a viable avenue to hire somebody. And referrals are great. I love seeing like you know, this is my cousin. This is like, there's a lot of like father son going on. There's like friends that end up working together because they refer, and that always ends up being a really good work environment. So that's good. And then for me, actually, I kind of fall into that category of kind of I guess like a networking way to get hired. So I had actually never done mechanical design before I started working at BBS. I was only on like the manufacturing, like on the floor side of manufacturing. And that's, so I was working at Frito-Lay before I worked at BBS, and I was like managing an automated warehouse. But I was able to take those skills and say, well, as actually a friend toured the business and said, hey, I think you would really like this place. You should send them a resume. So they didn't have any mechanical engineering job listings open, but I said, okay, sure. So I sent them a resume, and you know, story goes, I got an interview and ended up getting the job. But I didn't have any mechanical design experience, but they saw that I had worked with a lot of automation equipment in the past, and I had the willingness to learn, and they said, sounds good, and gave me the job. So yeah, I would say that you don't need direct experience. You don't need to find a listing. Like if you really are passionate about something and want to shoot for it, you can probably try to find a way to get your resume in and get in contact with those people.
Great. Now, as my final question, what can
Actually,
we?
Jim, can I interrupt you real quick too?
Sure, absolutely.
Ron reminded me your job board is a great place for networking too. You know, we post stuff, you call them, they call you about something, you know, they sell with one of our companies. You know, this is networking. You know, the way that new companies or old companies work with WorkUp Dupage. You know, here's a plug for you guys. You know, that we trust you guys with some of the people and resumes we get. So, you know, please use WorkUp Dupage as best as you can. All right, I'm done with my 2 cents on that one.
Well, thank you for telling us that, because I don't know, I think we're up to 18 pages of jobs, and we've hit up to 20 pages of jobs, and they're across the board. Thanks, Brian, for bringing that up. It's amazing to me at the amount of opportunity out there. I remember when the Great Recession was going, and my job club had 100, 110 people in there, and now it's just like, you want a job, it's out there. What would you say, and this is my final question for the group here, what could we do as an organization, WorkUp Dupage, one, to help job seekers, and two, to help you as businesses? What should we be doing? I know we're doing some of the CNC training, but what else could we be doing? Tom?
You know, I think you guys overall do a pretty good job of the CNC training. I think there's some other kind of skill sets. I think maybe Dave's company as well might, you know, it's a little harder. You have the CNC side, right, machinists, but then you still have like, we need like machine builders and electricians, and that stuff is not really like reading electrical print. It's not difficult. And it's just like routing wires and understanding that voltage. Machine building, same thing. If you learn a lot of people learn how to change brakes in their cars by themselves. They watched lots of YouTube videos. I mean, people, big deals. You know, if someone's refrigerator goes bad or something goes wrong, most people that have a toolbox in their house, you know, they're like, hey, I'm gonna look a YouTube video. And if it's something simple, they might try it themselves. And those are the kind of people where it starts off, right? And I think it's just having that initiative, just like, you know, get inside, taking something apart. A lot of machines are just like a Lego set. They're no different. You have a print. Usually the directions are even better than what the guys give you, you know, and you have the support that's in-house that'll show you exactly if there's a problem or something that doesn't fit right, they'll help you out. But I mean, for the most part, it's the machine building, what we like, you know, and that's one of the hardest roles for us to fill, actually.
Wow. Okay.
And the electricians. I think finding guys to make panels and stuff like that. And those two together, once you get that, even those skills help transfer into bigger positions, and even design positions, into production managers and supervise, and it just grows from there. But I mean, in terms of just start, it's just picking up that tool and wanting to know, hey, what's inside here? You know, taking it apart and figuring it out. And once you get that, you know, in you maybe steer more into that a little bit, I think you're going to get a lot more people. People like, it's not boring, right? Some of my guys don't even like sitting in their office behind their computer. They want to be on the floor on the machine sometimes. You know, it's just boring sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say, I was once talking with a manufacturer owner, and when he would drive around, if he saw kids working on a car, he stopped and went over to them and said, "Hey, would you consider working for me?" You know, so you never know where those opportunities are. And Dave, I think you said it too, is what's your passion, and let that show through. What could we do, Dave?
Yeah, I think Tom made some good points. I think if you can read electrical schematics and mechanical drawings and then understand how to like put a machine together, I just have a basic understanding of how to like read the instructions for that. Very valuable skill. I would add on to that, in my business anyway, pneumatic drawings too. It's I think like SMC and Festo offer quite a few programs to give you like the basics of pneumatic design and like show you how to like read pneumatic drawings. I actually went to a class maybe 2 years ago to do that, and I think being able to tell an employer like I have experience with pneumatics and understand pneumatic drawings, I think that would be a huge plus too.
Cool.
Yeah.
And Brian, do you have any, what could we do better as an organization? What would you recommend?
I've been after the school systems for years, you know, for changing, because I thought the high school systems, it's made for college or bust. It's not made for blue/white collar industry or manufacturing at all. I mean, I'm 45 and I went through high school. I didn't ever learn how to use a micrometer. You know, I mean, I learned that by a summer job, because I was working, actually I did a summer job at HFI working on a press brake one summer. So I got to learn how to do that. And I basically self-taught myself how to read the blueprint. So I would love working at DuPage to do some of those things that the school systems are missing out on. Teaching, you know, the fundamentals of blueprints, understanding what your physics course how many years ago or your chemistry course how many years ago actually is involved, and the fundamentals of those two subjects and what they lead into manufacturing. And as always, you know, we always talk, the TMA is good, you guys are great. There's a lot of groups that do a lot of machining work, but on the flat metal, the flat sheet side, you know, when it comes to programming and cutting, or programming and bending, you know, those are valuable assets that for departments in my organization. That's just understanding, you know, how the metal's gonna, you know, heat up and bend, and, you know, different elements all go together, and to be, you know, just like I said, fundamentals is always the key. I absolutely agree with what Tom said too. Show your passion. If you know, there's always a need for so many different valuable commodities within all of our organizations, you know, so that's about it. I think I summed that one up.
Yeah, and here's the, gosh, you know, there's so much to talk about. One of the things I found when I'm working with people who are looking for new opportunities, when I'm reviewing their resumes, there's so much that they don't put on. Yet when I'm talking with them, it's just like, why isn't this on your resume? You know, it's not, Tom, I think you were talking about people just apply, but they don't look at how could I help you as the employer? And I know I said last thing, but as final comments from each of you, Tom, what would be your final comments, both for the job seeker and what your needs are.
I think manufacturing is another, as one of my customers, there's another industrial revolution right now happening. Where it is changing a lot of the technologies that we've seen, whatever AI and even virtual reality that's starting to play into everything here. They're starting to teach people how to repair stuff through virtual reality. There's a lot of, like Dave said, a lot of vision systems right now are using AI. So it's not what it used to be. You take a hammer, bang it, it's a lot more advanced. And then for us to be competitive as a worldwide, as a country, we need to embrace that technology and find, the next generation of people to help, to transform our manufacturing. And I think this COVID was a good thing. I think it kind of forced it on everyone is to kind of like adapt. And the technology came up, it's coming up really quick. And it's just getting in there and doing it, committing and just getting it done. And a lot of customers right now, they had no choice because they couldn't find people, or they're trying to grow their business, or they're trying to, bring stuff in-house. They're taking the technology and they're going with it. There's lots of learning curves. There's lots of opportunities. A wide range of people, okay? Not just people that, on the floor, but people in the office, support staff, salespeople, planners, everything.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. When you said virtual reality, my cousin was a senior designer for architectural firm. And what they would do is, like, if they were working on an operating room, is they gave the doctors and the nurses goggles to wear and say, okay, what do you need here? What do you need there? How do we, so they would design it virtually. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and I've been to places where they're starting to use this virtual reality. And I do believe what you said, Tom. It is an industrial revolution right now. And, I've heard of nanotechnology where they sprinkle these little computers across a crop field. And now farmers have intellectual property rights in addition to mineral rights, because it analyzes the soil, the crops. There's so much happening in the future that the opportunity is there. Dave, how about you?
Yeah, I would just say I think if you're passionate about something, when you apply to a company or you put in your resume, you definitely put an emphasis on like how you think you can be useful, because I think that most people, if you care, you can find something at these companies that you can do well. And then, maybe if the thing that you have experience in isn't maybe your end goal and you want to do something else, I find at BBS anyway, there's a lot of mobility. And like, if you really care about something, I find that most people will end up there. I've seen people go from purchasing to controls. I've seen people go from electrician to electrical design, from quality to mechanical engineer. So that stuff's happening all the time. So if you can get your foot in the door by showing people how you can be useful, then I think at that point, the world's your oyster and you can do anything.
Okay, great. Brian?
I agree with both the other gentlemen. I'd say, with all the forms of technology, whether it be email or text or LinkedIn or whatever, or even just picking up the phone, stopping into a place, having a conversation, no matter what we do in the world, and as crazy as it becomes, communication is always key to success. And if someone's willing to put their first foot forward and say, I'm interested, then, I think there's always a way of working with somebody else to say that, all right, we'll give you a shot. Let's see what we can do. And then we can, like you said, you find so much out in time by conversations and knowing what their passion is. And it's our responsibility to put people in successful situations and knowing what their passions are, because they're going to get so much ROI out of that more than anything else. So, using groups, like I said, WorkUp Dupage is a great one. Any way you can, just to get your name, resume out there. And I know that there's companies like all three of ours that are willing to look at you.
Okay. there's any questions, do you have some time to take questions if we have any from the group? Okay. One of the questions is starting wages. What can a person expect as a starting wage if he pivots careers, or she, into manufacturing, I guess, it's a very broad question in the question room. What are you seeing with salaries, I guess, is where you want to start. Tom?
I mean, it all depends the position. I mean, our lowest paid position in here makes $21.50 an hour.
Okay.
And that's the lowest position we currently have in here. We are, but I mean, it all depends what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right, and where you want to start. I don't think that anyone in manufacturing right now, if anyone's trying to pay $11 an hour, I think they're really gonna not find anyone. But I think like Dave said before about people transferring in terms of the minute you get your foot in the door, Brian, so the minute you get your foot in the door and you're willing to learn, and people do transfer positions really quick. I've promoted sometimes people in this company or previous companies, 3 positions in a year and a half. People have made double the money in 2 or 3 years because of what the commitment they make and what value they bring to the organization. Because I mean, sometimes they can be so they might be good in one thing, and 2 years from now they're doing sales, and they're just selling everything, and that's great. Reward them. They earned it, right? And that's what we just get the opportunity, get in the door, and try your best.
Absolutely. Brian, how about you?
Yeah, I think experience goes a long way. I mean, but we have different levels for, different mindsets too. So I wouldn't say a job shop, but, being more towards the old fashioned kind of job shop atmosphere. I mean, I think the lowest thing we do is general labor for, peeling paper or stacking parts is $13 an hour. And that's, $27,000 a year. With overtime, you're talking, minimum, you're making $32,000 to $33,000 a year, all the way up to, I mean, my plant manager started on the shop floor, and he's making over 6 figures right now. So, I mean, the bottom line is getting in, becoming, having a passion for it, learning it, being a leader, more than anything else. And then, the sky's the limit. But, if you're switching careers, I guess it comes back to having, Jim, like you said, having that conversation with the other applicant that you had. It's don't be scared of switching careers, but you got to figure out how to get everything on your resume, or just sit down and have a conversation, a cup of coffee with someone to fully explain everything you've done, and let's see what skill sets are transferable, and go from there.
Okay. And finally, Dave.
Yeah, I would say it's hard to give like a hard number on like what to expect, but everyone at BBS, gets paid pretty well, and there's plenty of mobility. So I think what you start at will probably be, a negotiated fair rate based on your experience and your the value that you can make yourself, the value you can make for yourself. But then once you get there, the sky's the limit. And at that point, when the communication becomes regular, then I think your compensation will match your abilities.
Okay. So I'm going to wrap up now. Hopefully that's not my phone. My mother's phone. Okay. I apologize, everyone. So, killer. Okay. I apologize. Working from home. Okay, so these are the companies again. Tom is the president and founder of IP Automation. Bryan is with HFI and Dave is with BBS. The code for today is ROBOT 730, Robot 730. That's the code that you want to send to your counselors. Again, if you are new, please go to our website, worknetdupage.org. We have these all these jobs that are out there, and then we also have the Tuesday workshops of layoff to launch. Again, let us know when you find a position. It encourages us, it encourages others. You can see that I put some people, I talked with some stories about people I've talked with. You know, it helps us talk to others. And it's also how Congress keeps, this is where the money comes from, the funding. It comes from the grant, WIOA, Workforce Innovation Opportunity Grant. So I encourage you to go to our website if you're new, go to the Get Started page and pull that out. When you do get a job, well, there's two things. One, if we're sending you to training for a certification, and this is 26 years of experience talking to you, I've seen people lose sight of, you know, well, I got a job, I'm going to get the job, but they fail to tell the employer that, hey, I'm getting this certification, which is part of the job or can help you on the job. Finish the training, get the certification, because that'll go with you wherever or for however many years they last. So finish the training, get the certification. I've had job seekers tell employers, listen, I'm in this training, I'm going for this certification. Employers say, okay, well, we can work with you on that. So do that. When you do find employment, what's the position, what's the company, salary and benefits, and the hours. Congress, you know, they're in the Beltway there. They don't know what's happening here in DuPage County. And the only way they know is by the information that's reported up to them. So, you know, through the Department of Labor. The other thing, and this is what makes us a little unique, is we're here to support you on the job as well. So your career counselor is going to keep contact with you during the first 3 months. And then we're going to follow up at 6 months and a year. And basically it's, how's the job going? Is there anything we can help you with? What do you find? So, you know, stuff happens. You know, a lot of people who, you know, I'm seeing people come through the third or fourth time. COVID, I saw a lot of people I knew come through because of COVID. So just keep in touch with us.
Hey, Jim, this is
yeah.
Jennifer, and I just heard back from 2 recent clients that landed jobs, and both were in manufacturing, and they were both over 60 years old,
Oh,
and they both are doing great. They love their jobs. One gentleman is in a battery manufacturing facility, and he says he's intellectually challenged every day. And another gentleman said that he loves what he's doing. They're looking to hire, and he's making cellophane he's a plant manager. And so they were both really, you know, sounded like they were really happy. So I was glad to hear that.
okay. Let's see. What do we have coming up? In August, we have, we're going to have another panel discussion about nonprofit industry. We have NAMI, the YMCA. Yes, we have careers in nonprofits, and then we have People's Resource Center. A lot of people talk about when they're in job search mode, want to explore nonprofit industry. So again, we're going to do that. And then Jennifer, you want to talk a little bit about your community resources to find opportunities?
Sure. We've got a lot of great panelists coming up And I think a lot of people overlook some of the local resources that are available to them. Obviously, our office here, WorkNet DuPage, is available for job seekers, but we have many other programs for employers as well. But we want to talk specifically on that career conversations about how libraries can assist you in targeting your job search, finding opportunities, reaching out to contacts. And the COD Career Center will also be a part of the panel, as well as 2 local librarians.
Okay, great. Let's see. And, okay, I put this in again. So gentlemen, I'm Brian, Dave. I want to thank you for taking the time out today for this panel discussion. Appreciate it. I've gained a lot of information today, and I wish you continued success, and I hope your companies keep growing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and thanks for doing what you do.
Okay, welcome. Okay, Tom and Brian, take care. Dave.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Good luck to everyone.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.